Hello everybody, welcome back to my RC Plane channel. I'm James and I'm continuing with the series that I'm doing where I learn how to run gas-powered RC plane engines. Now this is a DLE 20cc rear exhaust engine. It's a DLE-20 RA they call it. And this is my first gas engine that I've ever had. And traditionally I've used glow-powered engines such as this older OS FP60. And I just thought, you know, it's time for me to join the club and learn about gas engines. And I was thinking I'm going to be using these in the future, and especially on some future builds and bigger planes. I think I need to go ahead and upgrade and start using some gas powered engines. And so in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mount everything on my test stand here. So I have the engine, I have the electronic ignition, I have the fuel tank, and I'm going to get a battery and kind of a couple things like that, and I need to mount them on my test stand. So the test stand itself, I've just built kind of custom for this use, and it's nothing special. It's just some old wood blocks that I put together. And if you go on YouTube and you look, you'll see you can find all kinds of different varieties of test stands that people are using or that they've built. There are probably as many test stands out there as there are people running engines on YouTube. There's just they're all different, and they're all probably custom made. You can purchase test stands that are already made, and you'll see some of those, but it's relatively easy to build your own test stand. So this is just made out of some blocks of wood that I had laying around, and I also had some kind of leftover these galvanized kind of brackets that I had for some construction stuff that I used here. So real quick, let me show you the front here. I already mounted the engine mount. This is just an older Great Plains adjustable engine mount. Now Great Plains is no longer in business. I've heard that Tower Hobbies purchased them and maybe they're selling some of their stuff, but you can still find some of their stuff online. And that's what this is. I got this off of eBay, and like I mentioned, I already mounted it, you know, obviously. So then let me check over here. Let me show you what I did on this side. So this is just, I needed to come up with a way to have a throttle control. So I decided just to go ahead and use some of these brackets that I had. This bottom one here is just another one of these kind of L-shaped brackets that I screwed into the wood here. And then this little handle is just like a galvanized strap kind of bracket. I just cut it, and then I ground sort of like a little kind of handle kind of thing in it, just for fun. And then I'm using just a little control rod that's going through, and it's connected to this arm using this little Debro. I forget the name of these. I'll post it, but it's sort of like a little easy link or a quick connect or something. And this is the same thing you would use on a servo. I just drilled a hole in here and I put it on just like you would do with a servo. It just kind of snaps on. And right now it's kind of loose because I don't have the engine on here. But once I get the engine on, I'll tighten it up and it'll be fine. And then to kind of hold it in place, I'm just going to use a simple little clamp like this. Put it on there. And that'll hold it in place hopefully when the engine is running, and I can kind of adjust it and do that. So okay, then I just have the test stand clamped into this Black & Decker Workmate. I like using these little tables, these little workbenches. They're pretty handy for all kinds of stuff, but really good for RC stuff. So anyhow, that's what that is. All right, so let me go ahead and get some stuff together here, and we'll get the engine mounted and we'll put all this other stuff on the test stand. All right, well, before I mount this, I thought I would show you a couple features of the engine, because you may not be able to see them once this is mounted on here. So this is the electronic pickup for the ignition. There's a little magnet in here, and this is turning, so it's kind of acting like a magneto, or I guess it is a magneto. And then if I look at the top or the back of it here, this is where the carburetor is located, to the rear of the engine. And then kind of looking down on top of the carburetor, this is the intake for the fuel line right here. And this over here is the actual throttle control. The arm isn't connected. We're going to connect the arm onto that. But if I flip it over, you can kind of see the throttle mechanism is right here. And then this screw right here is the idle adjusting screw. This looks a lot like the carburetors that you would see on a weed whacker or something like that, and the reason is because it's pretty much the same thing. And then since I have this kind of turned over, they have them marked here, which is nice, but they have the low and the high speed adjustments here. So this one right here, if I can kind of see it, that's the low. There's an L right there, and then there's an H for the high. So those two adjusting screws are on the bottom there. And then in the back, here's the choke right here. And then this is the choke kind of control arm. And then what's going to happen is there's a spring mechanism that keeps the throttle, I guess, kind of in the idle position. You can kind of see how it snaps back. And what we're going to do is we're going to remove that spring, and this is per the instructions, so that you just kind of have like a free play there. That would be a lot of stress on the servo to have to kind of counteract that for the throttle servo. So we're going to disconnect that little spring right there, and I'll do that probably, maybe I'll do that after I mount it, because I can get underneath there and do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and get it mounted right now, and then we'll go from there. All right, so I changed my mind. I'm going to go ahead and take that little retaining spring off of there right now so that we can kind of see that. I'm just going to use the little needle nose pliers here. Hopefully I can just pop this off. I can grab it. Oops. Well, that's pretty tough on there. There it goes. Okay, so this should move freely. Oh, it just flipped over to this side. Hold on here. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and cut that because it just keeps popping back up on me. Let me grab some kind of cutters for this. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and use these wire cutters, and I'm gonna pull this. I've already kind of messed with it a little bit. I'm gonna pull this spring out. What's kind of funny is that, well, I guess maybe you would want to keep that on there, but the instructions say go ahead and just cut it off or just take it off, but okay. There we go. All right, so that's that. That spring is still kind of engaging that though. Let me see if I can pull this off a little better here. If you have some comments about this, post them on here, and you can tell me how you did this if you have one of these engines. Okay, well there you go. So again, you know, the instructions did say to go ahead and disengage that, take that off of there, and I took the whole spring off, as you can tell. And that's cool. All right, so that's that. That was a little cumbersome, sorry for that. I'm just trying to show it though on the video. Okay, so that's now not attached. And now we'll go ahead and we'll mount this on the engine mount. It's gonna go like right here. So let me get my mounting screws. Okay, so I already have my holes drilled in the engine mount. And let me pop this on here. Like that. And then I'm using these sort of, they're kind of like cap screws, but they actually have a Phillips kind of head on them. And these are 832, I think. Yeah, 832. So actually, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a couple lock washers also. All right, so you can kind of see I had to use my screwdriver, just kind of screw them in a little bit. They didn't slide in kind of perfectly. They're fine, just that it was a little bit of a tight squeeze, and just kind of threading them down inside of it worked a little better. But those guys are in there. All right, so let me get some nuts to put on those. All right, now let's go ahead and use some nuts with some lock washers for the bottom. I'll probably put a double nut on there. So let me get these on. All right, so there's the engine now mounted, and now I've got to put the other parts on this. Okay, so here's the spark plug. Let me pull this out of here. And this baggie also has a couple other little things. It has the gasket for the exhaust. It has the throttle control arm, and then it has a couple kind of cap screws. I'll have to figure out what those are for. A couple little set screws right here, and then of course here is the spark plug, DLE-6. I don't want to lose this other stuff, so I'm going to go ahead and, oh, these are for the those little guys are for the, to put in for like the throttle here, to kind of make that adjustment to put it in the right location to kind of hold it. I'll put these back in here so I don't lose them. All right, so here's our spark plug. Let me go get a socket wrench for this and snug it down. All right, one thing I didn't do before I tighten this down, I didn't do it yet, but I'm going to pull this out because I didn't check the spark plug gap. Now, according to the manual, the spark plug gap is going to be, see, it says right here, 0.018 inch to 0.02 inches, or 0.45 to 0.51 millimeters. Okay, so I have my two feeler gauges here, and I got a 0.18 right here, 0.018, I'm sorry, and a 0.02. So I'm just going to check it with the small one first, with the 0.018. And it seems to be a little, it's not going in. So the 0.02 is not going to go in for sure. Okay, so I have to adjust this a little bit. I gotta tweak that out just a tad. Let me get a little screwdriver. So I want to be careful setting the gap. I don't want to damage the spark plug. I'm hoping this is the way to do it. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of pry this open a little bit. And I'll do my 0.018 again. There you go. Now the way I like to do it, or the way I was taught when I had a metal shop in high school, was that you just want to be able to kind of drag that feeler gauge through. It's got to kind of bite a little bit, but you want to be able to drag it through. You don't want it loose. That's probably pretty good right there. Let me see the 0.2. 0.02 I keep saying, should say. So it's probably a little bit on the loose side. So I'm just going to take it and gently press it on something soft like this wood. Still a little loose. I haven't checked the gap on a spark plug in a long time, so. All right. That's probably pretty good because the, well, there you go, the point. It's probably pretty good. Let me give it a little bit. I'm just gently kind of pressing it onto that wood. You don't have to use wood, but I like using kind of something like that because it's soft. There we go. So the 1/8 goes in. Wait a little bit more. All right. That's probably pretty good because the 0.02 does not go in, and the 0.018 does go in, and it's a little bit on the loose side, so I'm right in between. So I'll go ahead and go with that. So my setting is probably about a 0.019 or so inches. Okay, I'm happy with that. Let me put this in here. So again, you get your feeler gauge, and you want to be able to kind of drag it through, and you want sort of, you don't want to jam it. You don't want it to be loose, and you don't want to jam it. You just kind of want to drag it, and you want it to kind of feel like it's kind of dragging on it. You got to make sure you keep it nice and straight. You don't want to go like this and try to pull it out like that. You want to try to keep it kind of perpendicular to the points in there, and just try to get it to drag on through. All right, and I don't have a dedicated socket for this, so I'm just going to use one of my other ones I have from my tool chest, and I'm just going to put this on here. I don't want to over tighten it. I'm just going to go ahead and just use my hand pressure without a wrench right now. I think that'll be good enough. All right, well, in the instructions they show a ball link setup that connects to the throttle arm, and I don't have one, so I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to use one of these little easy connector things that I have, and I got that kind of set on there now. And then I have the set screws for with using the Allen key wrench to tighten it down with, and I will now put this on there. I don't know exactly where to put it because I'm probably gonna have to play with it a little bit. So I'm just gonna kind of set it up where I think it should be, and then I can make an adjustments later. So let me go ahead and get this on here. And I can kind of test it a little bit by doing that. It's a little cumbersome to get in here. I did notice that on top of it there's a little, you can see threads in the top of this, so I think you can actually screw something on top of that. I'll just have to check and see what's available for these DLE engines, but for now I'll just go with what they gave me in the box. Okay, well there we go, that's good enough for now. And like I mentioned, I'm going to have to adjust this thing so that it fits it properly. Okay, well there's my throttle setup. I got a new control rod, or a new connection here, and I just kind of put a little double kind of dog leg in it, as you can see back in there. If I can pull it back here, so now it operates, I think, pretty good just for a test run. And I don't know if there's, kind of hard if it focuses in there or not. There it goes. And then over here is just my throttle adjustment. And I'll put this back on here. Okay, so that should work okay, I think. Okay, well, when I was looking at this, I realized that when I put the muffler on back here, that's going to be hard to kind of get to the choke. So what I did is I just drilled a hole through the wood here, and I just fished another little rod through, and I'm just going to just set that in like that. It's nothing fancy, but this way I can just kind of hook it and open and close the choke from back here. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and take a length of fuel tubing, and since I have this off, I'm just going to put it on right now, and I'll just kind of squeeze it, kind of press it on, and that way I don't have to mess with it later when I want to put the exhaust on and kind of get all this stuff set up before I do that. So let me go ahead and kind of work this on, and then we'll come back and we'll put the exhaust on. All right, so there's the fuel line connected, and I fished it through the hole I have back down in here behind this firewall, and I think I have a long enough length so I can put my fuel tank on. Probably put the fuel tank on somewhere over here, but that's set up now. Time for the muffler. So they give you these two cap screws, or these cap bolts, and this guy will go on here. They're kind of loose in there, I guess, but I'll tighten it down. Hopefully I have room to do this. Alright, well, I had to disconnect my throttle connection so I can get this guy in here. Learn along the way. Alright. Alright, so I got the throttle connection set up again, and it looks like I'm good to go here. And now they do give these little extensions for the muffler. This is to just basically to transport the exhaust a little further away from the engine when it's in the plane. I'm not going to mount these for the test run. I'm just going to leave them off. So for the propeller, I'm going to be using this APC. This is a 14-inch diameter with a pitch of 10. And let me pull off the prop nuts here. They give you two prop nuts, and they look to be exactly the same, but one's going to act sort of like a lock nut on there. And then there's this little washer. Goes here. This guy will go on here. Like that. And we'll do one of these. That's too shallow. My socket is too shallow, so let me grab a wrench. Hold it tightly. Want it tight, you want it snug, but you don't want to overdo it. Just kind of have to make a judgment call on that. Then I'll put this one on here, which is going to be the lock nut. This one I can do with the socket. Boy, this is a sharp prop. Okay. So let's take a look at the fuel tank. So this is a gas fuel tank, and this is made by ZY Hobby. I'm not too familiar with who ZY Hobby is, but this seems to be one that was kind of popular. So let's go ahead and open it up and look and see inside here. Okay, so it's already assembled, as you can see, for the most part, I think. Let's pull this off of here. Okay, yeah, so they have a couple things in here if I can get them out. There's a little retaining clip right here. And there's a couple, looks like they gave you a couple extra seals. This little guy right here, oops, right there. And then another O-ring seal. So they're giving you a couple extra. There's an O-ring in the cap here, as you can see. And then there's these little seals for these two fittings here. And they give you an extra one of those. So I got two of those extra, and then I also have this little clip. I don't think I'm going to worry about the clip right now. So let's go ahead and set these aside just for now. So again, so the tank is already assembled, and it has, this is the clunk with the line on it, and this is what's going to go to the engine. Let me make sure this is screwed on here nicely. I'm just going to tighten it down, and this will connect to the fuel line going into the engine. And this is the line that's going to be used to fill the tank. You can see it goes all the way to the bottom there. And then this one is the vent line. Okay, so I was thinking about putting my tank right about here, like that. And this will come around here like this. And then the electronic ignition I want to put over here on this side, and should be able to reach the engine with it kind of over here. I want to keep it a little bit out of the way. And then I got the battery, which I'm going to put over here next to the electronic ignition. So the way I'm going to attach everything, at least I'm going to try it this way, is I'm going to use Velcro straps, and I'm going to staple those to my test stand. So I'm going to make sort of like belts for each one of these. And then to help hopefully reduce some of the vibration, I'm just going to get some rags like this, and I'm just going to kind of fold them and make like a little, almost like a little pillow for him. So I'll put it on like this, and I'll do the same thing for the other two. And yeah, hopefully that'll kind of minimize some of the vibration and kind of protect these a little bit. So the engine comes with this silicone wire protector, and what this does is you kind of untwist it, as you can see here, and what you do is you basically put it around the lead coming off of the engine itself. I'm assuming that's just to help protect the wire from heat and other maybe abrasion and such. So I'm going to go ahead and install that. You basically cut a piece to the length that you need, and then you just kind of like open it up. I'm sorry. So you cut a piece that you need, and then you open it up and kind of twist it around, and then just leave it like that. So what I'll do is, let me get some cutters. Okay, so here's the sensor wire coming off of the engine, and let me go ahead and kind of get it length the way about as long as I think I need it. So I'm going to pick it right here. I can always cut a little bit off if I need to. So let's cut a piece off of here. Oops. And then I guess you just kind of twist it and fish it around on the wire here. Here we go. I don't know if there's some way to do this, but I'm just going to do it this way. Well, I know there's a way to do it, I should say. I don't know if there's a special way to do it. Let me go here. This is pretty simple. I want to be careful not to kind of pull or damage the wire coming off of the engine here. Okay, so that's good, and I'll just push this through my firewall opening on this side, like that. Now I can connect the sensor coming off of the engine to the electronic ignition wire, which is this guy right here. Let me find my, just snaps in like this. And then they gave you these little plastic retainer clips just to kind of couple them together for extra security. So let me see if I can get this on here. And I'm just going to try to do it with one hand so you can kind of see it. It snaps through like that. It's got these little tabs on it. You can kind of see there's these little tabs that almost act like little springs that kind of push it to this side, and there's little, then on this side it's got these little sort of retainer kind of clips. So there you go, that's connected now. Now I can attach the spark plug wire coming off the electronic ignition, and this just has a spring inside of it, and it's just sort of a compression, kind of a compression fitting. You just push it over the top of the spark plug and press it in there firmly like this, all the way on like that. There we go. Alright, so the last thing to hook up would be the battery, which comes off of, here's the battery, and then here's the wire connecting it to the electronic ignition. But I'm going to hold off on that. I'm not going to start this up in this video, so I'm going to hold off on connecting the battery until then. There is a lead that comes off of this for a tachometer, which I'm not going to use right now, so we'll set that kind of off to the side. But yeah, so it's ready to go now. Okay, so this is going to be a learning experience for me, and the next video we're going to start it up and we'll see how it goes. Until then, thanks for watching my channel. I really appreciate it. We'll see you next time.